And I don't know what just happened there, but we got cut off. My name's Scott Harris, doing a series of videos, retrospective review of my comic collection for insurance purposes, just to prove I own these. Right now we're going through Boy Comics. The last video we did Boy Comics 5 through 37, and now we're about to do Boy Comics 38 to 59. And this is right in the prime best run of Boy Comics. These are from 47, 48. And Charles Byro as a writer is right at his peak. The covers are not that great. They continue to go downhill for the rest of the series until you get to around issue 97 or so, then they pick up again. But the stories are absolutely great. This is a great story here, great issue. Here's another good issue, 39. These are, lower grade copies, but they're all still incomplete, except for the next one, as we're about to see. Issue 40. You can see this one I'm missing a big piece of the cover. This one I definitely need to upgrade at some point. But, I mean, the stories in these are just so great. Here's a cool multi-panel cover, nice yellow background, boxing story. This guy used to be a boxer and now he's punch drunk, basically. Here's 42. This is the best issue of the whole run, I think. The lead story does have an upbeat ending, which is very unusual for these stories. However, that upbeat ending is kind of tacked onto the end of the longest story in the whole run. It's like 23 pages, basically longer than a modern full-size comic today, and it like shows this guy's whole criminal career over a period of like 20 years, and it's fantastic. The character work is amazing. Great comic, and again, probably the best in the whole run. And right after that, we do start to get a change in tone. Here we have some kids boating. 43. You also notice that here's 42 is Boy Comics. 43 changes to Boy Illustories. We get Crime Buster and Squeaks up here in the logo. We get this thing saying a force for good in the community. I don't know if this is a reaction to how gritty and down and dirty the stories in the previous issues were, because they very much were, which is what makes them great stories. But here right away we get a change in tone to stories that are sort of more. There's 44 that are actually a little more youth oriented. They're still pretty gritty, but there's a lot of stuff about sports. 43 had boating. Here's 45, which is about basketball. 46 is about kids exploring a haunted house, and it turns out the guy's mining like silver in his basement or something. So a lot of the hardcore crime stuff gets left behind after 42, which is just a seminal issue, in favor of stuff like this. Here's a boxing story, a lot of sports. There's still crime, still some great character work, really cool stories. But the emphasis has changed from hardcore crime to like this is a story about a circus. It's a cool circus cover if you're into circuses. I like the white background. Here's number 49. More Crime Buster like visits a native tribe. These issues are only, mostly offensive. Here's number 50 is a hockey cover. Again, as I said, getting into more sports related stories and adventure stories and less crime stories. Crime Buster's costume, his superhero costume, is in fact a hockey uniform. That was established right in his first appearance, so the fact that he's actually playing hockey on this cover is nice. He does play hockey on some later covers as well. Here's another airplane cover. We see a lot of transportation covers, a lot of airplanes, also quite a few trains. Case in point, number 52 is a train. A lot of cars, but planes and trains in particular. Stuff that would appeal to 10-year-old boys who are the target audience of this, even though there's still a lot of way over the top violence. This is a Canadian version. The interior is black and white. Here's another transportation cover, this time they're on a boat. It's issue 53. 54 takes place in a school. It's not the last issue that'll take place in a school. Again, we start with the sports, now we move into school topics. And at this point, the series starts to become almost like a public service announcement sort of thing. Here's another school cover. These kids have gotten in a fight. Crime Busters lecturing them and weeding out the bad seeds. A lot of that going on in this time period. These are really cool. This is like early 50s stuff. You can tell the time period's changed, Now we're getting into, the Eisenhower years. Not quite yet, but it's the 50s. Everyone's getting more conservative, and it's all like, there's some kid buried treasure boats. Here's a rare cover. Actually, I think the first cover in the series that does not have Crime Buster on it. This is the first appearance of Dilly Duncan of Dorset High. Charles Byro's attempt to glom onto the Archie fad. I mean, he's a couple years late, but Archie was a big deal at this time. So it's like all high school nonsense. It's not particularly good, but he wanted to make a big deal out of his first appearance. Now we're back to Crime Buster. Boring ass cover here. Dilly Duncan does appear in these issues as the backup, and here's issue 59. It's too bad that the covers are so boring on these, because the stories are actually still really good. They're not the hardcore crime stories of the middle period or the superhero stuff of the early period, but they're still very interesting. Good crime stories mixed in, like I said, with a lot of morality plays. Byro's big on morality plays. Every story starts with a big, lecture from Byro on morality and the lessons you're going to learn in the story, which partially was just covering his ass against critics, but also I think he's just a square, which is great. So there we have it, up to Boy Comics number 59, and then in the next video we'll be looking at Boy Comics, the rest of the run, number 60 through 119.